Hey everybody, welcome back to Coach's Corner. Today we are sitting here with Coach Waller, coach of the wrestling team, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit. Coach, thanks for letting us do this with you today.
No problem.
All right, Coach. So we just got done with the area duels and the state duels last week or the week before.
Yep.
How did that go?
Well, we won area duels. Beat Columbus in the first round. Beat Harris County in the semis, and then beat LaGrange in the finals. So we had a good tournament that weekend, and that qualified us for state duels the following weekend at Macon. And we got a pretty rough draw, and it's just one of those things you can't really control. We would have been better off actually losing area duels and finishing second. Our draw would have been a little bit better. But our kids took the challenge, and they wrestled well, and we upset South Paulding in the first round. 35-34, and then we drew the number one seed Camden, who beat us pretty good. They're number one for a reason. They ended up winning it, and then we dropped down and had to wrestle LaGrange again and beat them by 15. I think it was 44-29 was the final, and then we lost to Cass, who ended up getting third. And in all honesty, we probably didn't wrestle as well as we could have against Cass. We had an opportunity to win that duel, and we just didn't wrestle well. So we were pretty tired and worn down at that point. But we should have wrestled better. We weren't able to execute.
Now, all of this took place within 2 days, right? The state.
Yeah, the state's actually over 3 days, but we didn't make it to day 3. You had to place in the top 6, and we finished tied for 7th. So we wrestled all the way through Friday night. We wrestled Thursday and Friday. And then the place matches were on Saturday, so we were out late Friday night.
Now, how many matches did each person on the team do during state?
Most of them wrestled 4. We had 4 duels, so I threw our starting lineup pretty consistently. I subbed some kids in and out. Like I threw Tommy DeFrancis in there a couple of times and bumped Gunner to 32 to create matchups. One time I didn't wrestle Nino. I sat him out and put Benji Runyon in his spot just for a matchup because I knew Benji'd be fresh and just to see what he would do against a tough kid, and he wrestled well. So we create matchups most of the time, and so not every kid wrestles every duel, but for the most part, our starters wrestled 4 matches.
Now, talk to me about your starting lineup a little bit. How has it changed since the beginning of the season?
Well, they've changed it. Wrestling, the sport has changed so much in the last 5 years because of this new weight descent plan that they've instituted. And basically what it is designed to cut out massive weight loss. And so they make you take a test at the beginning of the year that tells you what your minimum weight class can be for the whole season. And then once you get that eligible weight class, you have to cut a small percentage per day you have to lose it at a controlled rate, and they dictate that. So our lineup has changed quite a bit depending on where everybody is in their weight descent plan. So, for instance, at the start of the year, Runyon was 52, Nino was 45, and Ian and Vance were both at 60. And then as the descent plans kind of took over, Nino started dropping down because he's actually eligible for 132, so he's on his way down. Runyon dropped to 45, Vance dropped to 52, and Ian stayed at 60. Connor Croft was actually the only kid that was eligible for us to make it at 106 for state and area duels, so he was able to make the weight loss down. But for area traditional, Harrison Jaggers is going to make that cut, and he'll be our varsity 106 pounder for area traditional. So our lineup has changed. It does every year, and my goal is in duels to create the best matchups I can with everybody that we have available. So weight's not as big a factor because I can create matchups. At area traditional, we had challenge matches yesterday and see who was better at what spot. So I'm making sure I'm getting the best kids out there in each weight. So we got a couple more challenge matches today. For the most part, we know who our starters will be next week.
Now, speaking of area traditionals, can you tell me at all who those starters are going to be?
Yeah, well, for the most part, they're the same. Like I said, Harrison will be at 106. Nick Martin will be at 113. Colin Castle will be at 20. Gunnar Pearson will be at 26. 32 is a challenge today. Nino hasn't wrestled 132, so therefore it's not his spot. Now he's cutting down there, but he will challenge. Colin Hanley had been our varsity 32 all year. He was challenged by Tommy DeFrancis yesterday, lost that challenge match, and so now Tommy technically owns that spot, but Nino will challenge him today. If Nino wins, he'll be our 32. If he loses, Tommy will be our 32. So, because we don't pick starters, you have to win your spot. You got to win a challenge match in order to take the spot. So, and that makes it, that way there's no politics or anything involved. If you're the best guy, you're the best guy. And so it doesn't matter if I like them or not. If they win the match, they're in. Which I like everybody on our team, but it's nice to have a sport where you don't have to. Well, the coach doesn't like me, so I'm not starting. Well, in wrestling, you don't have to worry about that.
It's just if you're good.
If you win your match, you're the starter. If you lose, you're not. It's that simple. So there's no excuses, nothing like that. You got to win the match. So I expect Nino or Tommy to be our 32. Donald Newman will be 38. Michael Runyon will be 45. Vance will be our 152. Ian Darling will be our 160. Brown has been wrestling 182 all year. He's going to make the cut to 70, and that means John Britt will get bumped to 182 if he chooses to do so. He's a little bit undersized, and so he might choose to not wrestle in that weight, but that's a choice I leave up to him. It's an open weight class, so there's no challenge there. But if he wants to wrestle there, he has that opportunity.
So you're doing all this preparation to get ready. Everybody's kind of challenging for their spots, getting ready. What do you think our chances are at the area traditionals?
At area, I think our chances are good. Our area, compared to some other areas, are not quite as strong. And our kids have, because the way they wrestled at area duels, we have a lot of head-to-head matchups that we won. So that gives us higher seeding criteria when we go to seed the tournament next Wednesday. So I expect us to have pretty good seeds, but seeding doesn't really mean a whole lot. You still got to go out and wrestle, but I feel pretty good that we can be in the finals in majority of our weight classes and finish first or second in the majority of weight classes where we're going to enter kids. A problem for us is that we're short 3 weight classes, and so there is a team aspect. Even though it's individual brackets, there's a team aspect on it, and so you get team points for every individual win. And last year we won it by 1 point, but we had 13 weight classes. This year we've only got 11 weight classes, so we're missing those points in those weight classes where we don't have anybody. But where we do have kids, I expect us to perform really well. So it's just going to come down to a numbers game, and can we offset the number of points that other teams are going to make up in those 3 weight classes by us performing well in the ones where we have kids. So I like our chances, but you never can tell.
So basically you're kind of getting penalized for not having people in those weight classes.
Yeah, absolutely. And they design it like that. That's kind of the, usually when you have a good football season here, when you have a good football season, you're less likely to get bigger guys out because they play football. They get beat on for, 16 weeks or however long you're practicing and playing. We had 12 weeks of games going into the playoffs, and, by the time we got done, our football kids were like, I need a break. And you've only got so much time to get them through the hydration test to get them eligible. So it's not like it used to be where they could come out the week of area traditional, the end of January, step on the scale, make weight, and go wrestle. Now you have to go through the hydration test, and you got to do all this other BS. And it's tough to get them to come out after a good football season. So that's a challenge for us going forward, is we've got to get more of our football players out, because the ones that have wrestled, it's really helped them on the football field, and vice versa. Those football guys coming out really helps the wrestling team. And I really do believe if we'd have had 2 of those 3 upper weights at state duels, we could have placed top 3, or we would have finished 3rd. I really do feel pretty good about that. So it's unfortunate. You hate looking back saying what if, but it is what it is. We can't change it now. We just got to go forward. So
now, you did name a lot of football players or former football players on the team, like Aaron Brown, John Britt, Michael Runyon. I'm not sure if Benji plays football or not, but you did name a lot of them. So how tough is the transition going from football to wrestling?
Going from football to wrestling is pretty tough. Not as far as the conditioning, because wrestling is a totally different level of conditioning than football. Football is you're sprinting 10 yards with a break in between wrestling. You're wrestling for 6 minutes with 2 short breaks in between periods. So it's a lot different. It's a different type of conditioning. But from football, the biggest concern is getting those guys healthy. Like I didn't wrestle Mike for 2.5 weeks after he got out from football. We took it real easy on him. His knee was a little jacked up from football. So you got to give those guys an opportunity to heal. And I've always done that. You know, I give them a big window to kind of get healthy. You don't push them out on the mat real quick because that's how you get hurt. So we try to take that into consideration because wrestling's not like every other sport like football where every single game counts. You know, you got to win this game to get criteria to get in the playoffs. In wrestling, all that matters is all that stuff that happens in January and February. So if they come out and they take a couple weeks off in December or November, it doesn't hurt them. You know, they miss out on a couple matches, but if they're healthy, you're willing to trade that off.
So those are kind of like they're actual matches, but they're more like practice matches.
Yeah, we treat them like preseason. You know, they're competitive and you want to win, but if you lose them, what have you really lost? You know, in the end, you're going to have to go wrestle at area anyway, and if you're good enough, you'll beat those guys. If you're not, you won't. So, you know, it's a lot different than other sports where your regular season dictates your postseason. In wrestling, it's all about that tournament that day, however you wrestle that day. So if if you take time off or you're hurt, as long as you get back in time to get your reps and get in shape, you still have a chance to move on in the postseason. So it's a lot different than other sports.
Now, you do a lot of tournaments. I know that you did quite a few over the break. How did those go? Do you treat those still like preseason, or are those more getting ready?
So the way we treat them is, especially early in December, we look at it as we're trying to improve our technique, you know, our wrestling technique. We're not too worried about wins and losses. I mean, obviously, anytime you compete, you want to win. You know, you don't ever tell anybody, look, don't worry about winning. But in the grand scheme of things, looking at the importance, it's just not that important. So we did well. We placed 5th, I think, at Fayette at the Christmas tournament. We went to Charleston, South Carolina, and there was a 53-team tournament. We finished 7th. So we did some good things. And again, if we had a full lineup, we'd have been even higher in the placements. But we treat those a little bit like preseason. We use those to fix our technique and get ready for January when it counts. And then January is more focused on making sure we're in shape to last multiple matches over multiple days.
Okay. All right, Coach. Well, thank you a lot for letting us do this today. Good look at area and hopefully state.
We'll make it.
Now, what area is what day?
Area is January 30th.
January 30th.
It's a Saturday in LaGrange.
In LaGrange. All right, Coach. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.